Hey, what's going on, everybody? Nick Push here. Well, I had a little bit of a hiatus, took a few day break after October, but I am back and refreshed and ready to keep on going. Like I said in a post the other day, this channel is going nowhere. I just needed to kind of regroup a little bit. But like I said, I'm back and I'm raring to go. So the bad news is October is over, Halloween is over. But as of filming this video, the good news is a week from today is Friday the 13th, so we can get right back into the spooky shit again. So I wanted to make the first of a few Friday the 13th videos between now and then. And what I want to do today is rank the Jason performances and rank the Jasons in each Friday the 13th movie. So stick around and find out who ranks where. So the way I'm going to do this is I am going to rank each Jason from each movie that he is in. However, I am not going to include the original. Spoiler alert, Jason wasn't the killer. But I'm not going to include the little jump scare at the end, played by Ari Lemon, I think his name is. And I'm not going to include Imposter Jason, Roy Burns, from Part 5. Take those out, we got 10 Jasons from 10 different movies. So let's get right into it at number 10. Number 10 is going to be the Jason from Freddy vs. Jason, played by Ken Kersinger. I was not a big fan of this movie at all. And as you'll see, it really has nothing to do with the fact that they chose Ken Kersinger over Kane Hodder. Now, I didn't like that decision just because I felt bad for Kane and things like that. And the way it went down, from what I heard, wasn't very professional. But this has everything to do with the way they had Jason in this movie. Basically, they wanted a Jason that was going to be a lot taller to kind of contrast against the size of Freddy. And they made him kind of just like a lumbering, just a lumbering guy that didn't really do much, didn't really have any movements. He just kind of has his machete and swings it. So I was not a big fan of that. So it's at number 10. It's last. Coming in Part 9 is going to be the Jason from Jason Takes Manhattan, Part 8, played by Kane Hodder. You're going to hear his name a lot on this list. This Jason is dumb. Number one, he basically fucking teleports all over the goddamn place. If you don't believe me, watch this movie again and see how he is in a place, someone starts running, and then all of a sudden he's already ahead of them. It makes no fucking sense. And then the look of him, there's certain parts where he kind of looks cool, but he's fucking soaking wet the whole goddamn time. Looks dumb. Don't like it. At this point, Jason's full-on supernatural, obviously. Has been for a few movies. But what they did with him here, with the teleporting and the constantly wet, I know he was just in the water, I get it. But it was stupid to me. So that Part 8 ranks 9th. Coming in, number 8 is going to be the Jason from Jason Goes to Hell, played by, once again, Kane Hodder. This Jason, he's barely in the goddamn movie. He gets blown up right away, and then he finally comes back for the last 5 minutes. How much is he on screen? Maybe 7 minutes total. You get a few glimpses of him in the mirror, and the idea of, the mask kind of morphing to his head, and his head kind of, coming around the mask. The idea, that sounds good on paper, but the execution looked kind of dumb to me. I remember seeing this when I was 11 years old or something like that. And at first I thought it looked cool, and the more I saw it, which was barely in this movie, the more I didn't like it. And he was kind of wearing a jumpsuit like Michael Myers does, and he's he's too fat. So I don't like the look of him. The portrayal of him, he's barely in the movie, so it's hard to say, but it was all right. So I have it at number 8. Coming in at number 7 is going to be Jason X, played by, I sound like a goddamn broken record here, but played by Kane Hodder again. I got nothing against Kane, guys. There's one more performance of his that is ranked a tad higher, but you'll see. But I got nothing against Kane. It's just the portrayals of him I'm not a huge fan of. But Jason X, we got basically 2 Jasons in this. We got regular Jason, and we got Uber Jason. Uber Jason's cool. It's a movie it's Jason in space, so having you got to suspend your disbelief a little bit, and just have fun with this movie. But the portrayal of him, he was all right. He was what he was here. At this point, Kane Hodder knew what he was doing. He had it down to a science. It's his last portrayal of Jason. But he's okay. The pre Uber Jason version, he's got some hair, which I wasn't a huge fan of the way it looked. But fine, he had hair in part 2. I get it. They're toying around with it. But as far as his performance and the portrayal, all I can say, like I said, is he was okay. There's some decent scenes of him walking around the space station, but it's basically just him walking and a kill every 3 minutes. And yes, there were a few creative kills in this movie that were cool. Obviously, the most famous is the liquid nitrogen kill. But overall, Jason was just kind of blah. So that's why it ranks at number 7. Coming in at number 6 is going to be the Jason from Part 6, played by C.J. Graham. A couple of things with this. This is when we finally get zombie Jason. He's resurrected. The look of him is cool, minus the utility belt. Was never a fan of that. There are some scenes where he is walking in the woods. He looks kind of chubby. I don't like that. But other than that, CJ Graham was pretty decent. Now we're getting towards the upper half of this list. For the most part, I like all these performances and I like all these Jasons. CJ Graham, he was pretty decent. That's all I can basically say. Some good kills, decent portrayal, decent look minus the utility belt. The one thing that I did like was when he was resurrected, he had like maggots and worms in his face because he'd been dormant under the ground or dead under the ground for a while. So that was cool. So part 6 is number 6. Coming in at part 5, yes, part 5, top 5 is going to be part 7, Jason, A New Blood, played by, for the final time on this list, Kane Hodder. Kane's first portrayal as Jason, I think, was his best. This is where he really started doing, you saw him do the breathing, when him and Tina are, squaring off. You see Kane kind of doing the breathing. He added another dimension to Jason with the breathing. Personally, I could do without it. But in this movie, I think it looks cool. And speaking of looking cool, how badass does Jason look in this movie? With the spine showing, and they basically have every injury he ever had in this movie, which was really cool. It showed a lot of care by the director and the production design. So all that was really cool. His face at the end, it was pretty cool. He kind of looked like, I don't know, like a deformed alien, but it was pretty cool. So I liked the Jason in part 7, and that's at number 5. All right, top 4. All 4 of these next ones I really, really, really like. But there's got to be someone at part 4, and that's going to be the Jason from part 2, better known as Sackhead Jason, played by Warrington Gillette and Steve Dasowitz, I think is how you pronounce it. Like I said, this is Sackhead Jason, our first introduction to Jason being the killer, and it's very interesting. If you watch this movie, it doesn't feel like the Jason of the other movies because he's more human-like. He's not my size. I'm pretty tall and lanky, but he's kind of has that tall and lankiness to him. He's a hermit. He's a woodsman, an outdoorsman. He's just surviving on the wilderness. He's got the long hair at the end, a fucked up face like they all do. But I really like this. I thought the sack head was creepy as hell with the one hole in it. Yes, they stole some of it, some of the look from The Town That Dreaded Sundown. But overall, cool introduction to an awesome, iconic character. So it's at number 4. Coming in at number 3 is going to be the Jason from the 2009 remake, played by Derek Mears. This remake, I'm hot and cold on, but the one thing I've never been hot and cold on, the one thing I've always liked, is the Jason in this movie portrayed by Derek Mears. He is fucking badass. He takes everything cool about all the other Jasons and wraps it up into one. He's got the outdoors, wilderness survival shit with, the bear traps and stuff like that. He's got the badassness, where he's just a fucking force of nature. Derek Mears knocks it out of the park with this Jason. The one thing I didn't like is I don't like the overcoat look. I'm not a huge fan of that. Other than that, nothing negatives to say about the Jason part of the remake. So it's at number 3. Top 2, these have always been set in stone for me. I said part 2, I mean number 2. The top 2 have always been set in stone for me. Number 2 is going to be the Jason from part 4, the final chapter, played by Ted White. This is probably the darkest version of Jason we've ever gotten. All the fucking kills in this movie are great. One way to kind of sum up how badass he is in this movie is to watch, in my opinion, is to watch the scene in the shower when he takes that guy's face and just bashes it against the wall, and you get a great look at the mask as he's kind of like holding him against the wall. It's pretty badass. Like I said, every kill is brutal in this movie. People forget, because of Freddy vs. Jason was not always scared of water. He's underwater killing Sam and then Paul in this movie with the harpoon gun. It's dark as shit. It's badass. He's got the black fingernails, which just kind of adds to the atmosphere of how dark this is. This is my favorite Friday the 13th movie, and Jason's a big part of that, so he's at number 2. But number 1, there is no substitute for me. My favorite Jason is the Jason from part 3, played by the late Richard Brooker. I love this Jason. This is my Jason. When I think of Jason, this is what I think of. There's a couple things that I think of. There's a couple things that really stand out to me. Obviously, this is the first version of Friday the 13th where Jason gets his mask. Fucking awesome. But there's 2 scenes that stand out to me. One is when he throws Rick's body through the window at Chris, and he kind of just comes through the window. The look of him coming through the window is badass. But the thing I think of most is right after he shoots Vera with the harpoon gun. He shoots her with the harpoon gun. He kind of tosses it down and has a little strut as he looks up at the house, and it's like kind of like he's like having fun killing. So that is just badass. That's a fucking pimp move, I call it, by Jason, and it is my favorite portrayal of Jason. Like I said, you guys know I'm a Halloween guy, but I do have a big love for the Friday the 13th franchise. I'm very excited for Friday the 13th next week. So let me know your thoughts on what your favorite Jason is. Which movie has your favorite Jason? When you think of Jason, which movie do you think of? Thanks for watching. Take care, guys.